Thank you, Father Hermes, for the kind words. I am deeply humbled and honored by this recognition. As with prior winners of this award, I can easily name numerous fellow alumni whom I think are more deserving than I. But once that billboard went up on Dale Mabry, there was no takebacks. So when I was sent an agenda for today's luncheon, in that agenda they had set aside 20 minutes for this keynote speech. There was no way, right? I'm the guy in church that when the priest starts the homily, I do this, and I give him 10 minutes, right? I'm thinking, come on, you got to get this in 10 minutes. So 20 minutes is not going to happen. But I do have a few things to say. Seniors, as the newest members of the Jesuit High School Alumni Association, understand that every man here with a Jesuit degree is a member of this club because the faculty and staff at Tampa Jesuit advanced what is the mission statement of the school. That mission statement is posted virtually everywhere on campus. It's so omnipresent that I'm sure many of you seniors simply sort of blended into the background. And you were there for 4 years, so by the end of your senior year, it sort of became wallpaper. But I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to go over it with you. Jesuit High School, in its mission as a Catholic Jesuit college preparatory school, labors to form men engaged in the world who are dedicated to serving God by being open to growth, intellectually competent, religious, loving, and just. The introductory description of the school is pretty straightforward. It's a Catholic Jesuit college prep school. What follows is the real substance. Labors to form men, not boys. Every senior here is a man, which means a few things. First, word to the wise, it means as you go off to college, you can be charged as an adult. But also realize that, and probably more importantly, obviously more importantly, you're beginning your journey of being taken seriously. Embrace that. Own it. Because when people take you seriously, you can have an impact. Engaged in the world. You've been getting training on this goal since you started at Jesuit. You all had that pilgrimage at the beginning of your freshman year, and since then, you've completed numerous hours in the community service program. You've had mission trips, in-depth pilgrimages all over the world, athletics, Max Club, P Club, robotics. The list goes on and on. You've all been challenged to engage in the world around you, and you've succeeded. That engagement needs to continue and needs to evolve as you go to college and beyond. Who are dedicated to serving God. AMDG, ad majorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God. It's there at the entrance to campus. Every day you went onto that campus, you saw that. You saw it every day. It's really the reason we do everything in life. Always remember that. Now, focusing on the second half of that mission statement, I'm going to go over it again with you. By being open to growth, intellectually competent, religious, loving, and just. The most important word there, interestingly, in my opinion, is the word and. See, because Jesuit didn't just pick one of those items to focus on and forget the rest. It's not like a cafeteria. As students, we all developed at Jesuit in all of those areas, and we all met the standards in every one of them. Open to growth. Jesuit encouraged all of us to be curious, ask questions, continue to explore. As much as you think you got it all figured out, I can assure you, you don't. And you'll figure that out as time goes on. But act and grow accordingly, understanding that. Intellectually competent. That doesn't mean every grad here is a genius. I might be exhibit 1 in that argument, right? But God gave us all certain intellectual capabilities, and the staff and faculty at Jesuit made sure that we developed those capabilities, those intellectual capabilities, as best we could. Continue to use them. College can be intellectually challenging. You're going in prepared. Religious. Jesuit shows its students how religion can and should play an important role in your day-to-day life. Pay attention to God. Go to church. Let your religion be a source of strength, and don't shy away from being a believer. Those 4 martyrs that are pictured in each corner of Holy Cross Chapel, they gave their all for their religion. Pretty sure you can't be more religious than that. Hold those men and others like them in high esteem, and always remember their commitment. Going out of order, I'm going to skip ahead to the word just. Jesuit trains its grads to do the right thing even when no one's looking. Stand up for the less fortunate. Do what you can to make sure that everyone gets a fair shake. And remember the humanity in all of us, and to treat folks accordingly. And now skipping back to loving. In the context of Tampa Jesuit's mission statement and its alumni association, the first word that comes to my mind is brotherhood. And seniors, as the newest members of the Alumni Association, I thought I'd give you an intro regarding the quality of the men and the depth of the love that's part of this brotherhood. Best way I can do that is through a personal experience I dealt with about 8 years ago. In 2015, I was in my early 50s, had a solid law practice, and a terrific plan in place, both personally and professionally. Life was good, but as many of you have heard, I'm sure, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. But I'm a little more partial to the great philosopher and former heavyweight champ Mike Tyson, who said everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face. And quite literally, I took one in the face. I'm sitting on my couch on a Saturday in September 2015 watching college football, and I noticed a tiny little bump on the inside corner of my left eye. Fast forward 3 weeks, and I've been diagnosed with later stage sinus cancer and have a tumor the size of one of those little carrots in my sinus and approaching my brain. Those plans I had, pretty insignificant at that point. I knew I had to rely on God and family. As the husband of a superstar wife, father of 10 kids, grandfather of 2 at the time, a brother to 13, uncle to over 50 nieces and nephews, I thought I knew how big my family was, and boy was I wrong. I had experienced the Tampa Jesuit brotherhood at reunions and catching up with guys at social events, but didn't really have a true appreciation for it until I got that punch in the face. After the cancer diagnosis, the first call I received was from the partner of the doctor who did the biopsy, an ENT. He told me I could lean on him for anything like surgery recommendations or anything else related to sinus cancer. And believe me, over the ensuing months, I did just that. That guy was a member of the Jesuit Alumni Association, a member of the club, so to speak. After my wife and I told our kids and family about the diagnosis, I wanted to let a few friends know about the situation. One of the first guys I called was a doctor, Jesuit classmate of mine, an OBGYN, who said to me, Brian, you know what? I can be there for you and Kathleen at your first appointment with the cancer doc because you're dealing with a complex and very serious diagnosis. I can make sure that the important questions get asked and answered. After researching cancer hospitals around the country, my wife and I decided that the best option for our situation was right here in our backyard, Moffitt. So I needed to get into Moffitt ASAP. I called a friend, a member of the club, who was on the board at Moffitt, and asked him the best way to get into Moffitt quickly. He said he'd handle it. That afternoon, I received an email from a scheduler at Moffitt, and I was in front of a Moffitt specialist the next day. I'll never forget that Moffitt cancer surgeon walking into our first meeting and saying, I don't know who you know or how you got squeezed into my schedule this morning. I told her it was a guy from my high school. Then she noticed it's not just my wife there, but my Jesuit classmate doctor. I explained to her, look, I brought my own personal OBGYN with me. Fortunately, she laughed as you did. And she mentioned, she said, you know what? She found out, I told her, he's a Jesuit guy. And she said, her son graduated from a different, high-profile private school here in Tampa. She said she doubted any grad from that school would be able or willing to do what these two Jesuit brothers had done for me. Shortly thereafter, I shared my diagnosis with another Jesuit classmate who asked me, "Hey Moon, do you mind if I let our Jesuit classmates know a few prayers couldn't hurt?" I thought about it in terms of over-disclosure, but then I remembered the stage that the cancer was at. And you know what? I said, anything that can generate prayers is a great idea. Immediately thereafter, my email box filled with words of encouragement and prayers. I received texts and calls with offers to help with rides to radiation and chemo, to make dinner, or just vent, even surprise visits after the surgery in the hospital, all from the members of the club. Trust me, that played no small part in my tackling this health issue. All these Jesuit alumni brothers going out of their way to provide me with meaningful support. And as you can tell from my quoting Mike Tyson that I'm a highbrow intellectual, best way I can describe this is to take a quote from John Wick 4. Friendship means little when it's convenient. I hope none of you have to find out about the breadth and depth of the Jesuit Alumni Brotherhood the way I did, but to think none of you will face significant challenges in your life is just not realistic. What I can tell you is this. When you face those challenges, you don't have to go it alone. And yes, you have your blood family, and I think that's most important. But when things get tough, you also have a big family of Jesuit alumni brothers to reach out to. Wow, I'm done way early. So have you guys heard the one about the Jesuit and the Franciscan and the Dominican who are walking down the street? And an apparition of the nativity scene appears before them. The Franciscan falls to his knees in awe of God born in such poverty. The Dominican falls to his knees adoring the beauty of the Holy Family in the manger. And Father Hermes, the Jesuit, goes up to Joseph, puts his arm around his shoulder and says, "Have you thought about where you're sending the boy to high school?" I don't have 10 more minutes of Jesuit jokes, so I'll finish with 3 quick comments to the class of 2024. 3 weeks until graduation, fellas. Lie straight. Congratulations to the class of 2024. And guys, welcome to the club. Thank you.